this chronic problem of anxiety, which our society is facing, the current stuff out there is not very helpful. We exactly need to go look for other ways of handling this. This is where use of psychedelics, and particularly psychedelics like antimony and muscarinic, because they're not working on the serotonin 2A receptor. They're working on this GHB receptor, which is more specifically tailored to anxiety. That is the underlying condition of our life of dealing with uncertainty, causes anxiety. That is the problem.
Welcome everyone to the Eons Ahead Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Wolfe. And on the show, we like to have deep, intimate conversations with amazing people that are eons ahead. But what does it mean to be eons ahead? Well, it means they're ahead of their time and they see things other people don't see, and they're able to communicate these visions to the world, manifesting them into reality, making a positive impact for humanity. They're often doing things that other people are not doing, and I love that. They're pioneers, they're trailblazers, they're leaders in their space. And our guest today is definitely one of those. He's a good friend and colleague. I'm going to read a little bit about him here. His name is Dr. Sanjeev Goel, and Dr. Sanjeev is Canada's longevity doctor. He's the founder and CEO of Peak Human, an amazing brand for anti-aging and regenerative medicine practice that provides care to celebs, athletes, entrepreneurs, and others that are passionate about being at the top of their game. Can totally relate to that. He is passionate about a holistic approach to wellness and has done training in anti-aging, integrative, and regenerative medicine. He advocates a healthy lifestyle centered around a plant-based diet. Also love that. Focused on physical activity and enhancing mental resilience. Sanjeev is the host of Peak Human Podcast, found both on Apple and Google platforms, where he discusses biohacking and regenerative medicine with guests on a weekly basis. He's a good friend. He's doing amazing things. He's eons ahead. Dr. Sanjeev.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's an awesome intro.
Yeah, that's you,
Makes
man.
me sound amazing.
You are amazing. That's why you're here. So I'm so happy you're here in Austin, Texas.
I love Austin. This is really great.
It's great, man. Yeah. It's the best. Austin loves you. You belong here. And we met years ago I believe we first met in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we were just talking about?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. It's a blue zone there.
It's a blue zone, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Nosara, yeah, blue zone. We're going to get into that a bit too, the blue zones. That's interesting. So we met in a blue zone.
Yeah.
There was a resonance for sure. And I remember one of our first topics that we started connecting on was psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're both interested in psychedelics, where this space is going.
Yeah.
You know, we did a couple podcasts since then.
Yeah.
You have the summit as well. The psychedelic summit.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this guy is awesome. Because in my experience, usually doctors are not this open-minded. You know, they've got their own traditional ways and views. I was like, this guy's a doctor, but he's got the holistic approach as well. He's an MD, but he's still got these other. He's a visionary. He's seeing things that people are not seeing, all for the greater good of all, of health and wellness and consciousness. And that really resonated with me. And I was like, man, I love this guy. I want to work with this guy. Got this super cool brand called Peak Human. You always know I've loved that. So kudos to you on that. So anyway, all this to say, I love how open and aware you are of all these different medicines and alternative medicines and holistic approaches. And where the world is at today, I think it's fair to say there's really an impeding mental health crisis that's going on. You know, so I want to get into with that. What are the things that you're seeing? And, you know, talk about, you know, some of the things that people are doing with mental health and some of the, you know, the cause and effect aspect. And let's start off from there and just tell me what you're seeing and where you think it's going.
You know, I think, maybe I'll even take a step back to talk about like how, you know, I've always kind of been, you know, I went to family medicine, which is, we call that the generalist kind of specialty, because it really split. You're like the jack of all trades, master of none. Like that's what, and the reason I went into this is because I was always searching, trying to find a way to help people with, try to really make a difference in their health, and ultimately people are suffering. Like, this world is about a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
And mental suffering is definitely at the top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it happening? I think where society is kind of structured. I mean, there's technology is probably
big part of it,
not helping
the
situation.
Yeah.
So, and that's what really drew me to psychedelics. So it was about, I think just before we met in 2017, I ran a biohack conference. So I've always been looking for, like, what is the actual solution here? And so, I go down various routes, did, GP psychotherapy and mindfulness training, a whole bunch of different things, and trying to figure out, okay, how can I use my talent to help people? So in 2017, I pulled together a biohack conference where we brought in the researchers to look at how can psychedelics help mental health. And Robin Cartwright Harris is one of the top researchers from the UK, came to speak there, and that was just really the beginning of our understanding that, hey, that we could be underutilizing the knowledge of the past to kind of inform us in the future. I think, I think that's really a critical piece, is that we're not really necessarily coming up with new things. We're kind of rediscovering things that have already been, people have been thinking about these problems for like
a long time,
millennia.
Yeah, for eons.
Who are we to think that we're that special? That we're going to like solve this problem. Let's go and let's relook at what has been done in the past. People have been thinking about this for, sages have been thinking about this problem for millennia, for their whole life,
for the beginning of time. Yeah, exactly. And I love that. It's like, these are ancient problems, also mixed with modern day problems now, because the technology aspect of it is really kind of amplifying the problem, because it's getting people more and more disconnected from nature. And we as humans are part of nature. It's even in the name, human nature. And the technology is yes, it can be a wonderful tool to help us with productivity and efficiency, and at the same time, very much disconnecting us from our true essence and the essence of nature. And what I'm sensing here is that if we can look back to the ancient wisdom, which was very much connected to nature back then. There was no technology. There was no screens and Wi-Fi and 5G and all this kind of stuff. Well, there's real codes there, these ancient codes, and we can implement them into our lives. And psychedelics, which you actually enlightened me on your podcast, is the soul revealing aspect, right? So it's like, that's what psychedelic means, even though it's a trigger word for some, it just really means soul revealing. And these psychedelics can help us tap into our soul, which is pretty awesome, right? So on that note, with psychedelics, them can be very, they're very connected to nature in a lot of ways. Some are synthetic, some are connected to nature. What are some things that you're seeing when it comes to psychedelics with helping with mental health specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the research looks pretty good with the use of psychedelics for depression, anxiety, addiction. Like a pretty good study came out of Johns Hopkins looking at smoking cessation. So, likely the evidence looks pretty good. And why is it happening? I mean, science thinks that for a brief moment when you're doing the psychedelic, your brain is kind of like, if you can think about it, like the sand is completely smooth, like there's no tracks in it.
Yeah, cleans the slate
for about 6 hours, right? Let's say. And then at that moment, you have an opportunity to reform new paths in that sand. And so it's not always a positive. I think that's a really critical piece, is that you can't just expect that psychedelics are going to always lead to a positive outcome. it could lead to a negative outcome.
Sure can. Yeah,
If
I've
you
been there.
start taking psychedelics and then start having negative thoughts about somebody and take negative actions, you could even reinforce negative outcomes like depression and anxiety and so on and so forth. So it's a very powerful tool.
Very powerful.
And I think that's why the set and setting is so important. And that's why, people need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That type of thing. I think it's extremely powerful tool. And like I said, our ancients, it was part of their ceremonies. That's why it wasn't just for the mentally ill. It was for everybody.
Right.
Ceremonies. Just part of.
Yeah. Ceremonies were part of their lifestyle. Very much so.
Yeah.
More so than work and all this kind of stuff. It was very ceremonial based, which I love. And like you're saying, these psychedelics have been used through all kinds of ancient cultures and Hindu and early Christianity and Vikings and Norse and all.
I was just hearing there's a book out about how it is part of an ancient Greek ritual where they used to go travel and to the specific location where they would take a type of psychedelic, and it was part of their communicating with the afterlife.
Right.
Like it was part of just like, hey, you do that once in a life. Like it's like a pilgrimage.
Right. Pilgrimage. Exactly. They knew that there's this spiritual realm, this soul connection, and these oftentimes plants, right, which are created by God, are makes sense. There's a divine connection between the plants, and then you form a relationship with these plant medicines, and now you have a connection to this soul realm. And I really like what you said there is like, these are very powerful tools.
Yeah. And they're not like a immediate fix.
Right.
And I think people are searching for immediate fixes all the time.
Yeah.
They want and so, the way people deal with anxiety these days is, taking a drink of alcohol, for example.
Right.
Which does.
What's that doing to the brain? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Alcohol is, apart from it having effects on how energy is utilized at the cellular level, like it does cause issues there. But on a brain aspect, it stimulates the GABA receptors, and the GABA system is kind of your depressant, like it kind of like calms things down. So alcohol does that, and there's many different types of GABA receptors, by the way.
Oh,
there's not just one or there's different types, and they all have slightly different effects.
Okay,
but for example, the Amanita muscaria mushroom is a very particular type of effect on the GABA receptor. So they all have a general thing about decreasing anxiety, calming you down. And so alcohol is one of those things that is very common.
Right.
People take GHB, recreational drug, which has similar effects.
Yeah.
And then all of the benzodiazepines, those are the class of medications that are used as sleeping pills, hypnotics, date rape drug. Those are all like in that same class of families that also stimulate the GABA receptors.
Interesting.
So, but the problem with a lot of these things is that when you stimulate the GABA receptor with those types of medications or substances, you can cause a rebound, increased sensitivity and action. So people get actually more anxious.
Wow. So it's like a temporary, immediate fix, gratification type thing. Like
you go to that party, you have a drink of alcohol, you feel more relaxed, you're a little bit. But hey, if you keep doing that regularly, without the alcohol, you're just going to feel more anxious, and then it's going to become a vicious cycle. Like, hey, you want to like just have a drink to just calm down, relax,
feel normal. Yeah, I've been there. I remember back days in my alcohol drinking days. Super fun in those first few moments of drinking, but then really just goes on a downward spiral as things go on. And then it's exactly like you said, I'm just having a drink just to like get through the day.
Just to stay steady.
Yeah. It's really not sustainable. It's really like old technology, this alcohol. And now that we're, getting more and more research, like you're saying with John Hopkins on these psychedelics, and even these legal psychedelics, like we have at Eons with the Amanita muscaria, the dialed that you've tried. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable what we're seeing. And I'd love to just dive more into the GABA receptor, and learn as much as you can share about the GABA receptor and how,
Yeah, I mean, I can just share that these, I mean, it's still, the research is still very, it's very
new.
early.
Early.
It's very
yes.
difficult for them to really know,
Sure.
apart from knowing that there's these different receptors
Mhm.
and that different things like alcohol versus the mushroom versus the medication all have slightly different effects
Mhm.
on these receptors because they're different subtypes. So
Right. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I wouldn't be able to give. I'll have to maybe
Okay.
put it into the show notes for you.
Okay. Sure.
I'll pull that up and I'll definitely put it there.
Okay.
But and for example, the benzodiazepines.
Mhm.
This is a very common medication. So sometimes when people have alcohol issues, they will start to take, like, you always hear about people taking Valium. Well, what is Valium?
Right.
Valium is diazepam.
Mm.
Diazepam is a medication that's again stimulates the GABA receptors and helps people who are trying to come off alcohol.
Oh,
Because what happens is that you end up having a withdrawal
from the alcohol.
from the alcohol.
Right.
And so you get extra anxious.
Right.
Your GABA receptors are more activated.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, people do, is they take these medications to kind of balance that out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But again, that is an issue. Why, if you get hooked on Valium, that's why it is a drug of abuse.
Mhm.
People can get hooked on that,
Yeah.
and even sleeping medications like lorazepam or
Mhm.
alprazolam. These are all from the same family.
Benzoephedrines. Is that what it is?
Yeah, benzodiazepines.
Benzodiazepines. I
Yeah,
always have a hard time
exactly.
remembering
Like,
that
yeah.
one.
So, one of the more, they have slightly cleaner versions of them now. Like one of them is called Zopiclone, which is also known as Imavane.
Mm.
Same, still, you can still have get dependent on them.
Mhm.
So I think what this tells us is that this chronic problem of anxiety, which our society is facing,
Mhm.
the current stuff out there is not very helpful.
Yeah. No kidding.
Like we're exactly need to go look for other ways of handling this,
Right.
and I think this is where use of psychedelics can
Mhm.
be, and particularly psychedelics like Anamina muscaria, because they're not working on the serotonin 2A receptor.
Mhm.
They're working on this GHB receptor, which is
Mm.
more specifically tailored to anxiety,
Towards anxiety, exactly.
right? Which
is what everybody's really.
that is the underlying condition of our life of dealing with uncertainty.
Yeah.
Causes anxiety.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
That's the issue. That's
That
really
is
what
the
the
ultimate
problem is.
And so we can meditate. I think these are other tools we can obviously do, is do mindfulness training.
Mhm.
But you have to have a certain amount of ability to be able to sit down.
To even do
quiet.
that. Yeah.
So you need a little bit of help. And I don't think we have to be afraid of using tools.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people feel this guilt, like, what, I'm using this thing and I shouldn't be using it. Why am I using this crutch? I
Yeah.
don't think we need to think like that.
Yeah.
Like, again, this has been used for, these plants have co-evolved with us.
Yeah.
It's part of nature. It's part of our use. We shouldn't feel, it's like taking food.
Yeah.
Are we going to say we shouldn't be eating food? Like,
Right.
So I think it's a different way of thinking about that.
I love that. It's a different way of thinking about it. I love that. That's how your mind frames it. It's genius. They're really tools. And it's like, if you have a job to do, well, yeah, you could do it with your bare hands, or you could use a tool, like a hammer or a screwdriver, or a shovel,
Mm-hmm.
or a wrench or a drill,
Yeah.
or an excavator. It's really like all these tools will help you do the job as long as you're using them with intention, with the right set and setting, like you're saying, which is the right mindset and the right environment. Because obviously your environment plays a factor on your psyche and all this kind of stuff. If it's a negative environment, it's going to be probably a negative type of experience. And your mindset, like you said, not projecting negative thoughts or fearful thoughts. It's like, we don't need to be afraid of these tools. They're there. They've been there for eons, millions of years, hundreds of millions of years, some of them. And it's like, well, they're here for a reason. They've stored this consciousness. They've survived ice ages and all this kind of stuff. And I believe they're our allies to really help us, because they know that humans are struggling, like you said. Yeah.
One of the interesting things I wanted to just bring came to me as realization is I went to Serengeti. It was
cool.
I think 2 years ago.
Wow.
And when we were driving through these Serengeti forests, you see like zebras on one side, and you see like baboons over here, and you see giraffe over here, and then there are some lines as well. And just to think that there are humans in that same running also in the same forests, and just how our nature is actually to be living in that type of environment.
Right.
Like we were living with these other
Yeah.
creatures
Yeah.
in that type of environment is what our biological system is
Designed for. Yeah.
Like those types of threats, that type of, thinking. Yeah. And then there's also, obviously they had their type of relaxation. Like didn't have all the other things that we have now. So it's like we're put that type of biology in today's world has left us with this chronic anxiety.
Right.
Because we have all this expectations. That's what's causing attachments. People's like trying striving and cravings for things.
Yeah.
And when you don't get those things, that causes
suffering. Yeah. Because totally the expectation, like you said, is expectation, attachment, judgment. These are just things that destroy the joy of living, right? It's just like they're the antithesis of acceptance and enjoying what is, because it's happening. And it's really, like you said, the expectation. And also just we're so far removed from that. What we were designed to do was living with the animals and living with nature. And that sounds like crazy to someone, right? It's like, I remember I had a post and I was like talking about people, living off grid and in Siberia and this stuff. And some people just thought it was absolutely insane, right? Because we're so far removed from it. But meanwhile, our mental health as a collective is reflecting how far we are removed from it, because they're just out of sorts. They're out of alignment. They're out of rhythm with nature, the circadian rhythm. Yeah, fascinating stuff, man. So I want to shift gears a little bit here, but still on the same topic. Still in the same building, just different floor. Yeah. I know you're really into longevity as well, right? Sure. Longevity is a main focus of yours with peak human and all this kind of stuff. So how do you see longevity? How does mental health fit into the longevity space? And how are they interconnected? Do you see any connections there?
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Well, I think that as humans, we have only a few like core purposes. Like one is to live a happy life.
Yeah.
And one is to live as long as life.
Healthy life. Yeah, long life.
Long. So those are the two, I think, key prerogatives, of what's we're doing on this planet. But obviously brain health is one of those things that it's just coming into kind of like people are thinking about it more because it is
it's real.
The brain takes up 25% of your energy needs.
Wow.
So those cells, those neurons are like have so much more mitochondria in them than your regular other, because there's so much stuff that's happening and so much reactions and all that's taking up so much energy. And so we're starting to understand that energy issues are a major problem in brain diseases, and that how does the cell lose its ability to take in and process energy is one of the issues of what happened in illnesses. For example, in diabetes. So what happens in diabetes is that over time, these brain cells are unable to handle how to deal with sugar.
Oh, I see.
And some people have a more predisposition. So if you have an ApoE4, that's a type of genotype, then you're just at much more higher risk for Alzheimer's. And those types of people they have a problem where they can't take in sugar to fuel their cells because they're having their systems are not working as well. And you see this in people who have diabetes. We call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. So there's some relation to that. So I think that the understanding about that, how important the brain is to our general functioning is just coming. It's just coming into under our understanding now.
Wow. Early stages of the brain
we're
development.
Starting to really understand that, these things are all really connected. Like the gut and the brain are super connected. That there's now the circadian rhythm, like there's this, and that's master clock is sitting in the brain, but each of the Each of the organs has its own clock.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to, one of the principles I'm really trying now to get across to my patients is that we need to live in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about being in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why circadian is, such an important word.
Mm-hmm.
But we all have a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not always a good and a bad.
Right.
Like there's not necessarily good and a bad. It's about being in rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
It's being in sync.
Yeah.
With whatever is happening.
Yeah.
Your body needs to be in sync with the environment.
Yeah.
And when your body is in sync, then there's no disease.
Right. You're in
Disease
flow.
happens when we're out of sync.
Out of sync. Yeah. Disease.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that principle still hasn't hit regular medicine.
Right.
But we need, that's what I think we need to help people in how to understand their own rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what biohacking is about.
Mm-hmm.
Biohacking is about understanding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And measuring that, and then developing treatments that are just, and things and practices that are just allowing you to be in sync with that. Because ultimately, there's no one solution that fits everybody.
Right. Right.
This is a very personalized approach,
mm-hmm.
and so I think my piece, like we're just at the beginning of understanding the brain,
mm-hmm.
and mental illness is, one aspect of it, but ultimately everybody could really work on on their brain. And I think,
right.
One of the posts I just put out, my thing was that, you really are where your attention is.
Mm-hmm.
Attention is the number one thing we have.
Mm-hmm. Most valuable
It
currency.
is the most important thing we can do.
Yeah.
Like,
where we put our attention.
Everything else doesn't matter.
Right.
But where you put your attention to, where you put your thinking, where you're going to give your valuable time,
mm-hmm.
is ultimately what your life will become.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the number one thing people should be investing in. They should be thinking about that. That's all brilliant. The time.
I couldn't agree more. What you give your attention to is your life force energy, right? So whether you realize it or not, that's mm-hmm. really what your life consists of, is what you're paying attention to. And what comes up for me is
mm-hmm.
these psychedelics, back
mm-hmm.
to psychedelics. Psychedelics are really like an amplifier of whatever you're putting your attention to.
Exactly.
And that can be, I get that can be intimidating or scary for someone that is just starting off on this journey, because if there's a lot of stuff that they haven't felt through or looked at before, and now you're putting a magnifying glass on it, it could be intense.
Yes.
And it can also help speed up the process of working through some of this stuff. And that's where I find microdosing is the way to go, because it's not too much. It's a micro dose. It's truly, it's very manageable for most people.
Yeah, I think doing the superhero journeys are good,
mm-hmm.
but I think we need to think, this is a very stepwise process.
Yeah.
And I think microdosing is probably a better idea, because it's every little action you do. Sometimes people do these hero journeys, and they have some super insight, but they just go right back to the regular.
Totally.
No and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So you had this great journey. Yeah, you saw God, and then you're just back to the regular, doing all the normal shit that you're normally doing. Yeah. But that doesn't change those little pathways, like I was saying, in the sand.
That's right.
But I think if you make that gradual thing and every time think about, and if these things become tools
mm-hmm.
to help you just think about where you're putting your attention to,
mm-hmm.
that's very powerful.
Very powerful.
Every little thing, every time, hey, why am I picking up the phone?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing right here? What's if people can start being a bit more in the moment.
Yeah, more aware. Yeah.
That's really what we could solve a lot of people's problems. This is really what would be the solving issues.
I love it. I love that you're going to the real crux of it all. It starts with oneself, and it starts with where you're choosing to put your attention. And then in that, you can really start to make these micro shifts. And now those micro shifts over time, continuing to stack up, will turn into a macro shift in your life.
The butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect, really. I love it.
It's I think that's the piece that we haven't been trained to think about brain exercise, if you want to call it, or,
mm-hmm.
Taking care of in that way.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at these outside things, come and fix this for me.
Yeah.
But it's all right here.
It's all internal.
We have the tools.
Yeah.
we just got to go again, look back at what the ancients were doing,
Right.
because they had a lot more time to work on this. They didn't have the distractions. Unfortunately, this technology has become a distraction.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's distracting us from what is really the important thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If at the end of your life, you just spent your whole time distracted,
Yeah.
how sad will that be?
That's really sad.
Right?
Yeah. You want to be present. You want to
Yeah,
be.
you enjoy everything that's happening. That's an incredible. We're only here to enjoy
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
And then we're going to go back.
Yeah.
So I think that's the type of thing I would take the listeners. If they would take something from this, I would say, hey, think about that. Like, what are they getting from the day?
Yeah. Yeah. How are you, what are you choosing to put your attention to throughout the day, and getting really clear with why are you choosing these things? And then that, I think, can start the precipice of the awareness for these shifts. I got one more question for you, Sanjeev, before we wrap up.
Yes.
We'll definitely do this again. You're always welcome here in Austin.
I love Austin.
You belong here. It's the best.
It doesn't feel like it's a little part of Canada.
Yeah.
Is it possible that it feels like it's like...
I don't know about that. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but we'll talk about that after the weekend, and you'll see if you still think that way. But there's a lot of great people here. That's really what I love about Austin the most. Yes, the weather's great. The food is always kind of entertainment, but the people here are truly the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And that's why I know you belong here. And so one more question.
Sure.
I'm trying to wrap it all up, but I feel like we kind of already answered it. But let's just say, we'll bring it home here with this. In the spirit of longevity, let's say fast forward, you've made it to 120 years old. You're looking back on your life and you're like, this was the one thing that I'm so glad that I applied into my life to get me to 120, that anybody could do if they just applied this code, this principle. What would that code be for you?
Yeah, I would, I think that the body getting to 120 is one aspect, but I'd like, honestly, to have a life that would be a fulfilled life, full of experiences and being present. So, starting that journey wherever you're at, but starting it. And then I think taking small steps, like that's why taking using tools like, let's say, the dialed product, for example. So you can start, again, getting dialed in or starting to just become more aware of the little actions you're doing, because again, taking care of your brain is, I think, the number one thing we could do for longevity, because if the brain fails, all of the rest is going to fail.
It's over. Yeah. That's like the master computer.
Yeah. You could live without all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But if your brain is gone, it's done.
Okay. On that note, I love this question. One more quick question. For brain health specifically, what are you seeing that, anyone that's listening, a little thing? Is it magnesium? What's the things that you're seeing that can really help?
Okay. Obviously, sleep is so critical.
Yeah.
I wear 2 rings now.
Or a ring and a wedding ring?
I'm checked. No, they're both different smart rings.
Oh, cool.
Actually, I'm wearing, one's a peak human one. We have one, and now ultra human is the one I'm using right now.
Cool.
But just because I think it's so critical to understand the amount of deep sleep you're getting, amount of REM sleep you're getting, and your resting heart rate and your HRV. These are the critical pieces to understand. How much stress is your body under? But sleep is super critical for the brain, because that's where all the detox parts is happening. So that's one thing. So the next thing is obviously giving some type of break to not always having carbs. Like, it's important fasting, because you need to, your brain also, apart from using glucose, it can also use ketones, and ketones are found in when people are fasting,
right?
Or people on a keto diet, for example, they're much more clear.
Yeah,
it's because their body's using that type of energy.
And when you say carbs, what about fruit? Does that apply to that?
Fruit is still fructose, still sugar,
still carbs.
So still carbs, yeah.
Okay,
so it's good to give your brain different ability to because it's very good at using fats, for example, or ketones for energy, whereas other cells are not so used to that. We're so used to a carb-based fueling system.
Right. Well, I know you're plant-based as well. I'm back on the plant-based now. It's been awesome. I'd love to dive into this more on our next
Yeah,
podcast.
because there's a lot. It's a nuanced thing. I mean, here I'm doing some of it for a spiritual issue too. So it's not that I'm completely against eating animal products, because I'm not. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
So I think there could be benefits. Again, it's about understanding your body and figuring out what's the right food for you at that time.
I love that.
And I could even be changing by season or time of life or whatever. There's very good reasons. Like it's not a one size fits all answer.
It's not a one size fits all. I love that. Yeah.
So I think, we talked about the food. What type of food.
Sleep.
We talked about sleep, and then oils.
Ooh.
So very important that omega-3s, most people are deficient. They're not getting the right ratio of omega-3 to 6. And then there's a new category of type of omega-3 called plasmalogens. These are another type of oil that becomes deficient as we get older in our brains. So, these omega-3s are all very important in the signaling and in how the cells are the coating of the cell membrane. Is composed of fat. Your brain is like 70% fat.
Wow.
So if you don't have, the right fats, things aren't going to work well. That's why people who are omega-3 deficient can have depression. That's why people who are anorexia have much more depression, is because their brain's not functioning.
Right.
So
it all starts with the brain.
Yeah. And then I would say creatine is a super amazing supplement. Seems to have a lot of brain effects as well. So those would just be some of the things out there. But there's lots more. Lots more.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to diving more into that in our next one. Get you back to Austin. And those are some great tips that anybody could do, that are inexpensive and they're very accessible. Creatine has been studied for many years, and magnesium and omegas and all this kind of stuff, and just get a good night's sleep. And, don't have to use Eons, but Eons sleep products are pretty awesome.
I use Eons sleep almost every night.
Same here. I love it. They work, So, Sanjeev, thank you so much for coming here today. And thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for being open-minded. Thank you for leading by example. And just really appreciate you, who you are as a being. And I look forward to running this back with you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's been a real honor.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.